connect with the one rope. In that diameter only, it can go and do the grazing. That's free will. It cannot go out. So Daivacha is, then what he says is, what is given this, that's Daivacha, to play. And within that, what you play is free will.
Yeah, I have
And now, some clarity is required from you.
No, I have even more simple example than that. So this morning I got a lot of visions on how to do this 18th chapter. So I just message Padma Shri. She has not looked at her mobile after 6:58 a.m.
Oh, okay. Maybe busy in kitchen.
Maybe, busy in kitchen or something. So let's wait for another minute. In fact, the 18th chapter talks about the free will also. And the whole thing is about free will, what you can do and what you cannot do. Transcending the guna is free will. Working within guna is daiva.
Working within guna is daiva.
You have been given certain guna and you're working within that is daiva. Transcending that guna is free will. Simple.
See, this deha is, I think he gave another example. Deha and inside you have that chetana. One is free will, one is free will, one is daiva. Daiva is that inside that chetana, right? And deha is a free will.
No, you don't have to complicate so much, but it's deha is free will. Deha, how can it be free will? It is an inert object. What free will does it have? It is because of Chetana only it is so-called...
That is Manas. Manas is free will then.
No, Manas is also not free will. See, the meaning of free will is there is a will. That will has to come from Chetana only. That Manas cannot do anything about it, right? Let us say, everybody has a free will, everybody's mind says that they should not get sick. Right? You show me one person who would like to fall sick.
Yes.
But he falls sick, right? So Manas cannot do anything. Manas is an instrument which is as good as the Chetana. So when you go deeper into it, it gets more complicated because unless we experience something about it, it just becomes like, I want to understand how this whole thing works. So this 18th chapter is all about that. So then what we can do is we can look at in a different way.
Yeah, somewhere it says, unless you understand God, you will not experience free will.
No, that is all
God
correct.
means that Chetana.
No, that is correct. God is Chetana, but you are that Chetana. So there is a complication, right? You yourself is all of that, whatever you are thinking.
Yeah.
So it is like saying that I am smart, whereas the consciousness is smart, not I am smart. There she comes. Yeah, Padma Shri, we were waiting desperately for the bus to start. Already, Bhatt started with his questions. So I've been holding him.
Okay. Sorry.
No, you don't have
there
to.
was silence, so then I thought I can ask this question.
Yeah, it is a good one. Okay, so this morning I had a vision, so I want to take this 18th chapter through that, because the five things rather, one is the jnana, another one is the karma, another one is the karta, and then you have buddhi, intellect, then you have dhriti, then you have sukha. All of this cannot be explained theoretically. Not possible. Because the minimum ground is that you have realized people. So now I was thinking from yesterday, how should I do this? So this morning I got a vision how to do it. So let me put that into action and see what three of you feel. So consider a robot. Okay. The software inside the robot is not known to the robot, and there is a power, whether it is a battery power or electric power or running on DC or AC or whatever it is. So there is a power. That power is the Chetana, or can be called as the Brahman, or whatever name can be given to that power. And it is independent in nature, looks independent, meaning there is no need for powering on once powered on as birth. Okay, now here what happens, the software inside that robot can perform certain generic functions, can perform certain specific functions. Now the generic functions are general to every robot which is seen, like brushing the teeth and taking bath, wearing a dress, and all of that is same. And you need to constantly recharge that battery, so that battery recharging is done every 4 hours. Whatever it eats, so-called eating, is converted into power. So there is a power which is there. Now there is this software which manipulates that power to produce something, and that software is different on different robot, is not same with every robot. That means the generic functions are same, but the specific functions are different. Now the question comes, why another robot is much better placed than this robot? Then the answer could be that a creator has created it in such a way. So this is called as a creator theory. That is, there is a creator and that creator has created it. So it is the problem of the creator that it has created in that way. Then the question is asked that, okay, why did the creator create it in that way? For which we don't have an answer, and we can only say that, look, the creator created in that way, maybe it's karma, that it is not doing very well, or it has a limitation. Whereas the person that another robot which is asking, it is able to do many things, and then the same question is asked, did the creator create you? And the answer would be that, no, I am a self-created person or a self-created robot. I myself have done so many things. So you'll get another view from another robot saying that, no, there is no creator, and there is I myself doing it, and I myself is the power, and I know exactly what to do. So these are the two extremes two robots are talking about. And when they check their manufactured material, they seem to be the same, exactly the same, except for color and height and all of that, the width and whether it looks like a male or a female or whatever it is, that is how it looks. So then the second question is that, how was I created as a female robot? For which again there is no answer except saying that, okay, it is karmically driven and how it was created, or it is God's decision. Now when the God decisions comes into existence, it is, that means that robot doesn't have anything except for obeying the God's will. So there is nothing called as free will, because every decision it takes, the God has said it to take like that, and it is doing. That means the power in that robot is saying what it has to do, and the software is running. So the software is already put by that creator. So that means there is no way it can be changed. That software cannot be changed. Okay, so this is the paradoxical situation now. Meaning, if it is no free will, then the robot will remain as robot forever. It cannot do anything other than what it was conditioned to be done. But if it is not created, then it can do whatever it wants, and then there is free will. So then you have two choices. One choice is going by, there is somebody called creator, and that creator is all along wanting to create something, and he doesn't know why is he creating it in the first place. And there is another view that from the robot, that there is no creator either. It is self-created, and for which there is no answer. How did he create himself? Okay, so these two extreme views create fight in those two robots, or a group of robots, because one says that there is no free will, another says that there is free will, and the one who says there is free will gives lot of examples, and the one who doesn't have free will says that even that selection about but you gave that example wherein the cow is tied to the tree, and that rope, that length of the rope, it has free will to move that much. So if there is a creator theory, then that rope is also decided by the creator itself. So there is no free will. So this is the paradoxical situation, that there is absolute free will, there is no free will, there is a mix of free will and no free will. So these are the arguments that can come. And this 18th chapter solves that problem forever. Because what you need to do is to transcend it, not worry about whether a person has a free will or doesn't have a free will. You keep that free will and no free will aside, and the robot has to now see what can be done about the software, rather than worrying over whether I can edit the software, whether I have that ability to change the software, or whether this program should run or this program shouldn't run. That again calls for free will and no free will. So let's say a creator person would say that even the changing of that software, if that robot can think it can change its software, that means the creator has already decided that it can change, whereas the other robot cannot change it because it doesn't know where to search for it. So you require, like we say, Devara Daye, that is God's compassion, without which that cannot happen. So for every action what the human being says, he will utter a word that God's grace. If everything is God's grace, then why is the human being doing something for himself? Then he can just sit silently in one place, one corner, and the food should get prepared. Now the creator theory will say that to get the food, the creator is giving you the food. So this is an endless situation wherein you give hundreds examples as a creator, and there are hundreds of examples which prove that there is no creator and there is absolute free will. So two robots will start fighting, or a group of robots will start fighting, which leads nowhere except for one robot saying that you don't know what philosophy and what science and what logic and what things are, because everything what you say is dictated by God. Without God, you cannot even live for a second. And the non-creator person or that robot will say that, well, then you explain to me, will your God come and urinate, or will your God come and digest the food? Will your God come and do something? And then there is no answer to that, because those menial jobs are not to be done by the God. Only the superior jobs are done by the God. So we have, or those robots have pre-programmed themselves to feel that this is what God will do and that is what God will not do. This is how human will do or animal will do, and that is the one which that will do. So it goes on going in circles. So what is the jnana then that should be having? So what Krishna says as a sattvic knowledge, the 20th verse, I will not read the verse because it doesn't make sense. I can explain through this example of the robot, is that if that software which is getting executed, like the operating system, so the operating system is the mind. So if that operating system is able to not differentiate between the operating systems, whether it is running on Linux, it is running on Windows, it is running on Mac, or it is running on Ubuntu, or it is running on whatever operating systems created, and it is able to understand the commands and knows that every robot over there is having the same command, no difference in the command at all. They are meant to run the code, and based upon the code what is being run, the actions are performed. So if that undivided power is seen by the robot, it will stop fighting on saying there is a creator, there is no creator. There should be some creator or there should be no creator. There is a free will and there is no free will. There is partial will, there is this will. So that whole thing, argument will go away, because he knows that all the robots, irrespective of how they look, are the same. Meaning the power is the same. It doesn't matter what operating system and what code and what command and what this and what that. This robot is able to find, which the creator person will say that, okay, you have already got the God's grace and then you are able to find. He keeps that aside. That robot keeps it aside, doesn't fight with that person who thinks there is no free will. And there is another robot which says that, look, I told you, you can find it. So that means that this robot believes that there is no there is only free will, there is no God or anything. So this madness is resolved when the power is seen. And that state of mind, that is that state of operating system, when it leaves the notion of operating system and it understands that this operating system is working due to power, that state of operating system, which is the mind, called as manas, is able to see universality. And having an universality brings in undivided consciousness or the power. So once a person or that robot is able to see the power, it stops comparing, it stops worrying, it stops doing anything at all. And that state of consciousness felt by the mind is called as sattvic. Okay, so this is the first one, that is 20th verse. Now we come to the 21st verse, where the two robots are fighting. So now the problem comes with free will and no free will, and there are hundreds of theories on free will and hundreds of theories on no free will, joint free will and no free will, God, no God. One should see God and then only he will get to see what it is, and only God can help, and we call that as Daiva Ichhe. Daiva never has a Ichhe, but we unnecessarily bring a Daiva and an Ichhe and say that, okay, it is God's wish. So Corona or COVID-19 is God's wish. If it is God's wish, why are people then complaining about the countries and continents and who created? So it looks stupidity. If it is God's wish to get a disease like corona for everyone almost, and so many people were to die, what kind of God is that who loves to kill people? So that knowledge which makes things like this is called as rajasic, because they see difference from each other. They think that this distinct things, what they see, that the distinct robots, what they see, have different entities in themselves. So they make it like a personality. So we have made Vishnu as a personality, Narayana as a personality. So we all have created gods as personality, thinking that that will lead to sattvic. It will not lead to sattvic, it will only lead to rajasic. So he uses a word here, vetti sarveshu bhuteshu. So he thinks that robots thinks that each living being or each robot is different, and the differences are created by the God, and God relishes in such a difference. And this kind of an attitude of the robot, because their operating system are running in that way, they are running those programs. So there is nothing to get upset about the Rajasic robot, basically, because that is how the Jnana is, that is how the software has been developed in that robot. So it cannot see universality, it can see only diversity. So it then starts to see different things and have different opinions, and each leading to free will and no free will. So two groups are created. One group always believe there is God, another group believing there is no God. Simple. And God differs from individual to individual, community to community, and that becomes a religion. So when it becomes a religion, it becomes Rajasic, because then your God is your God, my God is my God. Your God is an inferior God, my God is a superior God. So those people who believe in Vishnu make Shiva as an inferior, and those people who believe in Shiva makes Vishnu inferior. And these robots will swear that if I happen to see Shiva, I will cut him to pieces. And there will be there will be robots which, when they say that, okay, you talk any nonsense about Shiva, I'll cut you to pieces. So this Shiva can be there, or somebody can be there, like that we can have hundreds of variants created, and they are different from each other. So each robot behaves in absolute different way, and they would love to have differences. So now those people who believe in Creator don't have an answer how COVID-19 was created. So then they put it on humans. So they say that God did not create, but the humans created. But then the question to be asked to those intelligent people, that how did God allow them to create then? Then the Creator was closing his eyes while that human being was able to create this. And then the answer is given that no, the world has to go into pralaya, and that is the reason this has happened. So that means that person who was believing in free will suddenly changed to this example that there is a tree and there is a cow and that rope is tied. So the Daiva Ichche is to be tied to that tree, but that length of the rope is to that extent that person can create whatever he or she wants, which is the Creator view. Now those people who think there is nobody called as Creator, they feel very happy that they were able to create a virus, if that was created in the lab like what they are talking about, or anything like that. I mean, all inventions made by humans, then is either Creator God. Men say that if the God were to create aeroplanes, then you have to wait for it. You can't create on your own. But human being says that I have created aeroplane, and then I have gone to moon, I have gone to Mars, and people are flying from one place to another place. Actually, God should make them fly. Why they should fly? So this kind of knowledge which gets set into that operating system is rajasic. Now we come to the third knowledge, which is tamasic. Now this is very funny thing which happens. That person who had a rajasic, that software will start behaving that he sees one part itself as a whole. It sees itself as a whole. Meaning, now that robot which has complete intelligence and other thing, he feels that, look, I am the king. So whoever claims that I am the king, I am the queen, I am an intelligent person, I have 10 patents in my name, I have found this, I have found that, that kind of intellect or intelligence created by that jnana is called as tamasic. And he gets attached to that cause and effect. And he will also say that there is no cause, but there is effect. In some cases, he will say there is cause, but no effect. So, he doesn't want to know what's the cause, because he feels that, look, there are people, if you have seen, they say that, look, I used to study under a street light and I had to undergo so much of pain. My parents were so poor, and I have created myself as a self-made man. So this self-made is tamasic. That is the complete free will. So this creator person, completely devoid of reality, and he also almost tamasic, but he fears God. That's the only difference. Whereas the other person is completely free willed oriented. And that robot feels that there is no foundation, there is no truth, there is nothing called as spirituality or anything. It is everything what is dictated by itself. So that knowledge is tamasic. So the software what is running in that robot is a tamasic knowledge. Now what happens when these three people meet? So the person who has seen he as everyone, that is the power he has seen, who did not argue with the person who believed in free will, and who did not argue with another person who did not believe in free will, he does a beautiful thing. He just does the obligatory action, that is to execute the code, and he doesn't get attached to that code, that it is my code, because he knows that without that power there is no code which is running, and neither he has likes nor he has dislikes, because there is nothing to like there. It is just coming what is being conditioned there, and what is not working is because the condition is not there. And because of that, he doesn't hanker for the rewards and recognition. Okay, so that robot does not want anybody to reward him. He cares damn about that reward, nor he claims or he worries about the kind of allegations what other robots are making. The robot which believes in God spits at this robot saying that you are a Nastika. Okay, and the robot which really is a Nastika will spit at this robot saying that you are an Astika. And this robot knows that it is neither Nastika nor it Astika, it is reality, just the reality. So that action which just executes a line of code without getting attached to the line or the code or to what is getting executed is a sattvic karma. Then you come to the rajasic karma. Now this person or this robot which felt either way, and it felt that each of these robot are conditioned, and I am the one who can do something, or I'm the one who cannot do anything. So it believes in creator, non-creator, this and that, and comes into an opinion that there is free will and no free will, and keeps on arguing with people and listening to hundreds of things which are or reading things which either give free will or no free will, or in some free will and no free will, and desirous of results whatever it wants, and it feels that there is something called as myself, and I know myself. That mind or that operating system is actually rajasic. So it puts a lot of selfish efforts because it doesn't want to lose anything, and it really puts in effort and effort and effort. So rajas can never happen without effort. So it keeps on putting effort. So that action by that robot is rajasic. Now come to tamasic. Now this tamasic robot doesn't want to lose anything in life. So when things are given, it will praise itself. When things are not given, it blames others, other robots, for its loss. Then it also does another thing. It does a funny thing of believing in a creator when things are bad, and believing in itself when things are good, which normally many of the robots, you can see, they go to temple when something is not working, and they stop going to temple or mosque or church or whatever it is when things are working as per what they wanted it to work. Okay, and they cannot see that everything is dependent on the power, which doesn't care whether it is running a small robot or a big robot or a huge house which is like a robot. But this being or this robot feels that, okay, I am the one who is running everything, so I will run to the fullest capacity. So what it does is that it competes with another robot. If that knows something, it wants to know something more. And if there are siblings, it will have sibling rivalry, because it compares and says that, look, I need to be proficient than the other. Then if it has friends, it wants to be much better than the friend. And like that. So, and it wants to shine. So there are people who believe that you should stand out of the crowd. So all management courses talk about standing out of the crowd. And that kind of mentality which is created in that robot is tamasic. So all the actions are purely out of delusion. But it believes in God. In some cases it does not believe in God. So this is the karma of the tamasic. Then we come to the karta. Now this has seen the power, so it doesn't get attached to it, sattvic. So it is free from sangha, which is attachment, and not egoistic, and dhriti utsaha samanvitaha. So it is endowed with fortitude of the highest quality, that is dhriti, and it is samanvritaha, that is, it is equanimous in all situations, because it knows that it is the power. Neither it calls it as a god, nor it calls it as no god, because if you call it as a god, creates attachment. If you don't call it as a god, creates attachment. If you call it as free will, it creates attachment. If you call it as no free will, again it causes attachment. So it will do due diligence of it. Without power, nothing can work. So it is unperturbed by success and failure, because the code what is coming is from its own karma sheet. So it's getting good result, okay, very nice. Not getting good result, okay, very nice. And that kind of karta is sattvic. Then we come to the rajasic. Now this rajasic has a problem from the beginning, because it sees different, and differences create it to have passion. So if some robot uses the word, I'm very passionate person, I put my passion to work, I am doing this, I am doing that, I ensure that things are working and all of that, within its own family or with others or on job or whatever it is, because that robot is conditioned that way, and it is desirous of the result of action, because for it every motivational factor is that it should end up in some result. If there is no result, then it doesn't have any motivation. That operating system will not work without motivation. So it can have covetous attitude inside, so it will start to showcase that kind of covetousness. Then it might even go into cruelty. That means that it might harm itself, need not harm others, but it keeps on being a himsaka, himself or herself, whatever that robot is, because it wants to sustain, it wants to win over, and thus becomes impure. And if somebody has something called as mood, look, I am a moody person, it's very clear that a person is rajasic. So that karta who has all of this is rajasic. Now we come to the tamasic karta. Now this problem with ayukta is that it depends on the situation. So every situation is challenging to that robot, because it sees that it's whatever is executing is not working, so it wants to do something about it. So it is unsteady, and it is very naive. It doesn't understand why things are happening, and it doesn't have flexibility, so it cannot bend. Okay, it cannot mend nor bend. It will be whatever it is. And it is deceitful, because it wants to be existing forever. And it can go into wickedness, whereas the rajasic can get into the cruelty, whereas this tamasic can get into the cruel way of working, and it doesn't want to work, it wants others to work. So many people who speak very well, they deceive others, and they will ensure that others work for them. So those robots which are programmed in that way, that there is a huge impression let out from that individual, that kind of person or that kind of robot has this beautiful thing called as laziness. It doesn't want to do anything. So when good time comes, it will take the credit that how did I develop my people, my community, my is going to be there so many number of times. Okay, then it takes credit. But when time comes, when its name is getting tarnished, it will coolly transfer it to the other robots who were its partners. So it will start showing the fingers that, this one, that person did, that one, that person did, and it will escape. escape unhurt because it knows how to speak. Rajasic robot is very much action oriented, whereas tamasic robot is more talking oriented. No action, but it talks very well. Sattvic robot does not talk, it shows it in action. So sometimes people think that the sattvic one is inert, that is tamasic, and the tamasic one is sattvic. This is how tamas and sattva really works. Okay, so these are the different kind of things which happen within a robot. Now we come to the buddhi, intellect, which is 29th verse, and buddhi and dhriti, that is fortitude. Now we come to the guna. So there are three gunas, rajas, tamas, sattva again. So he is going to say what it is. First one, sattva. Now this robot knows the code is conditioned, power is not. So it renounces the code and becomes the power. So it knows pravrittim cha, nivrittim cha. That is what action to be taken to get that power, because it itself is the power. And it also knows what needs to be done and what need not be done, and what needs to be feared and what need not to be feared. The code working need not be feared, but the wrong actions which it is doing out of by itself, which is called free will, should be shunned, so that there is no new code written, because it knows for sure that it is itself writing its own code. So it wants to end the journey as a robot. So what it does is that it just executes whatever code is there, not changing, nor fighting, nor liking, nor pretending, nor doing anything. In that case, its buddhi, intellect, is sattvic. So when we come to the rajasic, unfortunately, this has an identity view, that myself, and it is doing so much of effort, and it cannot. And another thing about these three robots, the first robot settles with a philosophy, works with one guru and be done with it. The rajasic one keeps on shuttling, keeps on understanding different things. It's like shopping, because there is action, there should be some action. So this buddhi is also in that same way. It keeps on shopping. It cannot stay at one given place at all. And the third kind of robot, it's a slow kind. It wants to reason out everything, and it wants to see what is in it for me, and it gets completely confused because of delusion. So it cannot identify the philosophy, it cannot identify the guru, it cannot even know what it wants in its execution, whether it wants to remove the code, it wants a new code, it wants something else to be done on that robot. It is unclear for itself. So it wraps itself in many self-created controversies for itself, because there are so many code which is running, and it gets overwhelmed by the execution of that code. Whereas the rajasic wants to correct this code because it wants action. So it says that, may I help you and I will do something for you and all that. So that is the rajasic kind. Whereas the sattvic will not do anything unless asked. If nobody is asking, It will not do anything. Neither it will proclaim that I am this and I am that. So the proclamation happens in tamas. The action person or the action robot is the one which wants to take credit of something, whereas the sattvic one wants to end the journey. The more nobody recognizes, the better. So again, a set of robots will make this sattvic seem like tamasic and the tamasic seem like sattvic. So this can happen because the intellect works in that way. So rajasic tendencies in that robot does not know correctly what is virtue and what is vice, because its free will definition has got completely misplaced. It believes in God in sometimes it doesn't believe in God in some time, or it completely believes in God in one time and it completely not believes in God another time. It completely forgoes itself one time and it completely encapsulate itself another time. So you have to do something about it. So that the something doing is what the rajas is all about. So this unfortunate robot of rajasic thinks vice is virtue and virtue is vice, or it sees others doing as vice and it's doing as virtue, or it sees others doing as virtue and it wants to create virtue. All of these deluded notions makes that what I can say, that robot always in movement. So its mind keeps on moving from one object to another object to another object to another object, and it wants to learn many things. The more it learns, the better it is. So it wants to showcase. Now there are designations for that. So you can have Shatavadani as one of the designation. It can have Sahasravadani as another designation. So the whole of life is spent in making this or that. And there are followers. And they want to follow. And these followers are tamasic people or tamasic robot, because they themselves don't want to do anything. They just want to go by what somebody says. Just like, if I have a Swami or somebody in the mutt, and if I go and watch his ritual, let us say I go to Udupi, and then I watch the ritual, and he is doing it, and I believe that doing the Pada Seva or Pada Puja of that Swami is going to give me merits. That kind of mentality is rajasic, meaning that buddhi is rajasic. What it develops is tamas attitude, because he will do, I don't have to do anything. I just have to go to Udupi, go to that mutt, meet that head monk there, and then take Ashirvada from him, and there ends the matter. And I will put on Instagram or Facebook or wherever, WhatsApp, that look, I met this person, such a nice darshan I had. And the moment I put myself, it means that I am rajasic, because I took all the journey there. Then I did another thing, that I went and made myself available, which is tamasic. So that buddhi is wrongly understood. That is, vice becomes virtue and virtue became vice. What is vice here? Vice here is to disregard the power and go in search of another power, thinking that that power will give you this power, is vice. And what is virtue? Recognizing that you yourself have the power and you are indeed that power, there is no need to search anywhere. It is there with you only, is virtue. So I, as that robot, got confused about this virtue and vice. So I might head to Mecca, or I might head to Jerusalem, I might head to Sringeri, I might head to this place, that place, Sai Baba, this Baba, that one, this one, hundreds of rituals, hundreds of ways of thinking, hundreds of ways of believing in free will, no free will, and all of that will ultimately release only Rajasic intellect. Now we come to the Tamasic intellect. So whatever I have covered there is again recovered as Tamas, because that ultimately covers that up. Taking vice as virtue and virtue as vice, that is adharmam dharmam iti ya manyate tamasa avrita sarvathan viparitancha buddhihi sapartha tamasi. So seeing as though being enveloped in darkness, meaning say that believing in a person or an individual or a community or a caste or a culture or a tradition or a philosophy or whatever it is tamas. Meaning to say that this is the only thing, nothing else. My guru is the only guru, nobody else. That kind of madness which gets created, or my company is the only company, my family is the only family, or my lineage is the only lineage. All of this kind of intellect in that is the mind which has this reasoning ability. That reasoning ability is called as tamasic. Okay, let me end it here. I have spoken continuously of all of this. We have 7 more minutes. So I'll take that next one tomorrow. Any questions, concerns?
So only Satvik is the only way.
Yes.
Through Satvik only you can find that Chetana.
Yes, and you should not have thinking on free will and no free will.
Yeah, you do your karya with the Satvik mind, then that doing karya, doing that is called utilization of free will.
Yes. So no.
And see, now the thing is, you explained nicely Satvik, Rajasic and Tamasic. That with that you are doing something. That is a karya.
Correct.
Okay. And now, if you don't do anything, then what is that called?
Tamas.
Don't do anything.
Tamas.
Oh, it's called tamas. Okay. That is nidra. That
Yes.
means you are lazy.
Jadatva, yes, that's correct.
Jadatva. Okay. So, not doing anything, when you have free will, when you are not doing anything, that is the worst thing. It is tamasa.
Yes, so
you have to be active, you have to do some work, but do it with the sattvic mind.
No, the first thing to be known by now is that you are just consciousness. There's nothing called as you. By now, by this much of our journey into Bhagvadgita, what we need to know is that you are just consciousness. There's nothing called as...
Yeah, the moment you think just consciousness, then there is no impact of any gunas. Now, gunas will not be connected.
Exactly. So the sattvic person or the sattvic, like that's the reason I use the word robot, because then it doesn't become like personalization. So if that, see, the question comes here is that who developed that software, which is the creator, and then another thing comes that no, I only created it, which is no creator. So this is the problem, and this applies to the first thing what we spoke about, jnana. That is the same problem with karma, then the same problem with karta, then the same problem continues with intellect, that is buddhi, then dhriti. All of them has the same problem. So, unfortunately, those people who believe in God are equally tamasic, and those people who don't believe in God is also equally tamasic.
Because both need effort to believe and not to believe.
Yes, and they oscillate from believing God and not believing God.
Okay, one more thing. Why you should believe in God?
You don't have to believe in God. That's what the first line
Because
says.
there is nothing we are going to achieve by believing God or if you by don't believe in God.
Correct. And that is the reason the first shloka of Jnana.
But for Jnana Marga, that's not recorded. But for Bhakti Marga, Bhakti is for somebody, right? So then you need to have that belief.
And that is tamasic.
See, Jnana Marga is experiential. Bhakti Marga is you have something and you are surrendering to that. So you are doing with the Sattvic Buddhi also you can do the Bhakti Marga, right?
No.
You are Sattvic.
No. You first have to come to tamasic. Then you will do something which is rajasic. Then that clears the mind, and then you see yourself in that deity which is sattvic.
Okay. That means you are sleeping. Sleeping is tamasic. When you wake up, you got that energy. Using that energy for a transaction with the something called God, and then you are doing that bhakti. And when you are in pure bhakti, you are sattvic. But you will have karma phala here.
Yes, you will have karma phala. So
because you are doing karma. In bhakti, you are doing karma. In jnana, you are not doing any karma.
Yes. So the subtle thing here is that through bhakti, you ultimately have to come to jnana. It is not first come to
Can
jnana.
I say, niskama karma, when I do niskama, I don't expect anything. That is also another form of jnana.
That is another form of jnana, but it has bhakti as its own target.
See, that is sakama only. If you say that you give me this one, then
No,
having...
not that. Now let us say I am believing in something, right? And I am doing nishkama karma. Kama is sensuality, non-sensual karma. But still deep inside me, I have a longing desire to meet Krishna or Rama
correct.
or somebody. So that is still tamasic.
You have a bit remaining inside.
Yes.
The residue is there.
Residue is there. So you have to let go of that also. Then it becomes...
Because you believe in God. So actually, you believe in God, it may be Rupa or Arupa, but that itself is connection,
yes.
Bondage.
That itself is a bondage. And this is what Totapuri clarified to Ramsha Paramahamsa. He was so obsessed with Kali that he could not let go of it.
Okay, good.
9:29. So other two don't have any questions.
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, no worries. So today I thought how to do it because it's so difficult. So what is the best way? I thought since we all are from the software and robotics and all of that or industrial automation background, it is better to only talk about that. Becomes easy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you then.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಯಾ?